This is my poker face. This is me pretending to be a respectable individual. Anyway, once I see that it has actually started on the old phone here, so I can keep track of it. There we go. There we go. We have started. So we are officially live. Everybody, say hello.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah. So
I'm uncomfortable.
Let's start with an introduction of everybody here. Because there's a couple of there's one face at least that I don't think anyone's gonna know who wasn't at Desolation. So I'm Eric, and this is Corey.
Hi.
You've seen too much of us.
Yeah,
we'll shut up. Who else is? Then there's Garrett.
I'm Garrett.
That's Garrett.
And then who are you? Who's this guy?
I'm Other Matt. I've been around in the background, in the shadows. Really, I do nothing here. I provide nothing.
No, so Matt is actually another one of the Omega staff guys with me, who has been in the background helping with the Omega games, and he actually was at the first Desolation, but we met at Bad Blood last year at first when I was way too drunk.
This is true. That might have been partially my doing.
I blame you for my destroyed tent.
So that's fine.
I don't remember Bad Blood. Was it good?
It was okay.
Yeah, we were real drunk.
Yeah.
Everyone say hi to Matt's baby in the background.
Oh yeah, hey baby.
He's so cute.
Anyway, so we're actually on for a reason other than to harass Matt's baby, and the reason that we're on.
Kid knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah. The reason that we're on is to review our experiences at Omega Productions Desolation 2. So those of you who don't know what Omega Productions is, Omega Productions is actually Matt. Can you put yourself on PTT while your baby's in the background?
Yes, I will figure out how to do that.
Or mute, or just you should be able to hit mute up in the top, and then just unmute yourself when you're ready to talk. Anyway, so Omega Productions, for those who don't know, is a post-apocalyptic role-playing game. It's like Fallout 76 in real life, but good. That's the way I describe it. But so Omega Productions, core conceit of it is that the world has ended, and all of a sudden, oh shit, Steve made it. Say hi, Steve, real quick.
Hi, Steve, real quick.
Hi, guys, real quick.
There we go. So Omega Productions, the world has ended, and all you have is what is on your back and what is in your gun, and that's what you survive with. Everyone say hi to Kaylee. Anyway, so Desolation 2 was their third event. That was actually one of their major events. They also had a beta event at the Warzone, and then back in the day, they had a kind of prototype called Demon Seed. And I attended the Demon Seed event way back in the day, and it was really good. And I waited until basically Desolation for a proper follow-up. And you were at Desolation, Matt.
I wasn't back to Desolation. It was very cold.
Yeah, it was very, very cold and miserable for everybody. This was Desolation 2, and it was not cold.
This is true. It was warm, actually.
No,
yeah,
we actually had really good weather for that weekend.
Yeah, it was really great. So time to huff some lemonade, Eric. Yeah. So Tiki2211 says, so like what Balahak did. The thing is, and Omega is going to earn comparisons to Balahak games. I think that's just inevitable when anyone does post-apocalyptic roleplay. But first of all, the concept for this dates back to 2011. So there's no ripping off going on. And second of all, Balahak doesn't do full immersion camping out in the field all weekend. That's just not Balahak's flavor. And Omega is by design more sparsely populated, though I don't think Desolation 2 felt that sparse.
No, I mean, I've been to a couple of the Revelations down at Balahak. They're definitely different things. You can call them all post-apocalyptic, but I would say Revelation is more akin to Fallout with the like what's the Wild Wasteland mode? Like they make it more fun. They make it zany on purpose. It's less serious. Like Kat Selmer, right? The girl with the bow.
Yeah.
Was talking about how like, yeah, they're the same and that it's post-apocalyptic, but it's nothing like this because pretty much at the door they split off. Like you said, you have to live out in the woods for 40 hours at Desolation or any of Omega's events.
Yeah, and I think that that's the core conceit that really makes Omega more unique. And then the ammo restrictions are just brutal comparatively. So if you haven't read Omega's rule set, check out their website. It's omega-epi.com. It's kind of a weird web address, but you can actually see their rule set, and you are capped at 300 BBs, like total magazine capacity.
Yeah, you're capped in the number of ammunition feeding devices that you can have that total 300 rounds. So for me, as I ran this LCT G3, each one of these mid caps is 140. So I brought 2 of those and an M9 with 1 mag, and that was it. That was my ammo cap. Most other people, I think they might have had I think it was Matt had 4 pistol mags.
Yep, that was it.
Like that. Steve, you just had that revolver.
Yeah, I just brought a $30 spring revolver that I actually got from Eric for free because he was clearing out his basement and didn't want it anymore. So yeah, I just had that. I bought, I think, about a dozen extra shells with it. And really the biggest use that it got was when I decided, oh, well, let's just go and chill out in a building and play Russian roulette with whoever wants to play.
Yeah, and I think that the thing with Omega that I constantly praise it for is that there's so many different ways you can play it. I mean, there's always just a shitload of options, things that you can do, and emergent gameplay is really encouraged. I mean, I remember at Desolation 1, Matt was kind of at the heart of one of those big things. So the last day was all organic.
It was. I mean, it was pretty nice. Frank and Alex definitely do let you do exactly what you want within the realm of the rules. And we were lucky enough to have a few people who were willing to play along and just like let it go, play out as long as it did. There was a point, I'm pretty sure Eric was on a 30-minute walkabout with one of our friends.
Yeah.
Who was just casually distracting people so we could, come back to life, find a community to respawn and get ammo and go fight somebody else to get what they took back from us.
Yeah, and that worked out fantastically. It ended up being like just a really fun way to end the game. And there was something not quite as organic at Desolation 2, but you still ended up because you were in charge of the what was everyone's role at Desolation 2? Let's start with that, I guess. I was the traitor NPC who couldn't walk without the use of a crutch because I actually went to this game with a partially open surgical incision and a jacked up ankle. Yeah. So, I wrote myself a character who would be good for my physical limitations.
It's pretty smart.
Corey, what were you?
I was a mechanic, and I wanted to be this like nice, wholesome, like cool guy mechanic, and I got worked in to help build like filtration systems for the communities that were there. And so you had to go
for
on
their water
quests.
supply.
Yeah, for their water supply, not their distilling equipment. Though that would have been fun.
That would have been great too.
So,
maybe the West Virginia game.
Yeah, and I talked in this redneck accent like the whole time, and it was so much fun.
I think we all just about talked in a redneck accent.
Pretty much,
I didn't, but that's because I am not good at speaking in redneck. And then, I mean, honestly, I think the person with like the most interesting role, the role I'm kind of really jealous of, was Matt with the cultist role.
Oh yeah,
pretty cool.
That's because you're busy living it, Eric. But I accidentally became the leader of a cult, so. I guess
Classic story happens to all of us.
I understand what you're going through now. But I guess I accidentally became a cultist, and we were just given free reign to kind of like, hey, keep it family-ish friendly, and then go for it. Just do what you think a cult would do.
Yeah, and that was really great because that actually ended up being the driving force behind a lot of the scripted events, and it could have gone a lot of different ways. but people seemed into the cult thing. So
Yeah, I mean, it was like I said, or Frank addressed it in one of his like post game videos. He doesn't really have he has a lot of different paths that he can take, and he just kind of lets the players decide where it goes. And so for Desolation 2, conveniently the cult was the path that everyone decided to go down. So I got to share the spotlight, assault Eric on Saturday, and make the night game fun for everybody else.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, you guys were basically the guards from Splinter Cell.
Oh god.
But what I actually something that I think was done way better at Desolation 2 than any of the other games, I would argue, is the fact that there was kind of an element of a scripted storyline, but it had these branching paths based on how the players were playing it and how it was all going.
Definitely. I mean, if you look, we all had our own stories. Corey was a mechanic. Matt Lutz, who's not here right now, was an EMT. I was a cultist. You were a trader. There were so many individual things happening all at once that a player could kind of shop around for whatever experience they wanted.
Yeah, that was actually what I was going to say. It wasn't necessarily the fact that it all started in the middle and then kind of branched out. It was just kind of like you stuck a couple of cups out on the table, and people could just metaphorically take a drink out of whatever they wanted to decide what Kool-Aid they wanted to stick with. My role at Desolation was Burt Gummer, Graboid Hunter by day, Doomsday Prepper also by day.
But what does he do at night?
Sleeps, just like everybody else. So like the cultists obviously had their whole, let's support our great and almighty Typhon. Let's do different things like
all
that.
All hail the mighty Typhon.
Corey obviously had the filtration water system that was a key element that all the players had to interact with at some point. But ultimately, players could try and help and just kind of keep in the back of their minds, oh, well, this is going on. The cultists want this. We had a group of Russians.
Yeah,
they were great.
The Russians basically got harassed out of existence, though. Everyone made them a target.
Yeah.
But that was because they were great. Like, they role played so well that they were at the forefront of everyone's mind. But they just kept getting wiped because everyone wanted to steal their flag.
Well, it didn't help that me and so Steve was also one of my Doomsday Prepper underlings along with Lane. We put a hit out on their flag to take it and then bring one of us to their community to get paid out a bounty. It never ultimately happened. They never came and found me. But one of the other bits that players could do too was I had hidden a bunch of stashes or caches around the field, and players could find them, and they couldn't immediately unlock them. Only after a period of time would they slowly become unlocked, and then players would find out, oh, there's all of these supplies that we could have had, or oh, there's this in-game item that we need in order to complete this side quest or something like that. So players had the options of kind of juggling in the back of their heads. Okay, this person wants this person wants this person wants this. I need to help out with this. I want to try and do this. So it was kind of like a thriving, I don't want to use the word community, but because they describe the little settlements as communities, but it really was kind of a miniature.
It was an ecosystem.
Yeah, an ecosystem is a good way to put it. A miniaturized ecosystem of society trying to build itself back up.
That was a lot of what
to do.
That was a lot of what me and Matt Lutz are trying to do, was trying to create order and provide people with a sense of, Matt Lutz, by the way, we were trying to provide people with a sense of stability, but as characters, we decided that we would go with the flow, and everyone kept attacking each other. So we were going to try and still provide stability, but stability based on chaos. So we ended up becoming like lawmen by the time day 2 came around. We were like, you know what? Screw these guys. I'm tired of this shit.
Well, and something that I think was more interesting, again, that we kind of tried to do, and something that I think makes more LARP events more interesting, period, and that we'll definitely be trying to implement in any future games, is most of the NPCs had some kind of arc. Like most of the NPCs, like they weren't static throughout the event. Like they would change a little bit. Like for example, Corey and Matt initially never fought, and then they started, shooting people and being like, "Hey, don't shoot in the town, or we'll shoot you." Steve, I know, kind of started like being a little bit of a chaos gremlin as the event went on, just planting the seeds of discord. And I became a drug addict and started threatening my customers and having manic depressive episodes where I threatened to kill myself.
I actually started off of shooting people whenever they got near where my stashes were. Like just, get away from my stash and just like wiping a couple of guys and then having them chase me away from where I kept my caches. But then as the event went on, I was like, well, I actually need these stashes now. I need to start working with the communities or working with players on trying to find them. That way I can get my stuff back. So I ended up playing nice by the end.
Yeah, you had the like opposite arc that most people did. You became nicer.
Right.
I had a couple players come up to me and be like, "Yeah, that Doomsday Prepper dude, like we were gonna go up and talk to him, but he started shooting at us. So then we shot at him." It was just so funny. Like,
well, all of a sudden, someone came over the radio. They're like, "Hey, I think somebody's getting close to one of the stashes." I'm like, "Nobody's gonna take my stashes from me."
Now, I want to actually address a couple of comments here. So how many of the caches were actually found? The North thinks they found 2 altogether. How many of them were found, Garrett? Because you know how many you hid. Were they all found?
It started off with 2, and by the end of day 2, a third one was also added. The first 2 had locks on them, so that way once communities or players got a hold of them, they ultimately didn't have any way to access it until later on for day 2. The third stash had actual plot elements in it. I think it had the cultist reference book.
Yep.
Their Bible, so to speak. And it had like a couple other things in it as well. And that was hidden like at the climax towards the end. So yeah, there were only 2 stashes that really players could have the most interaction with.
And those were the lootable raffle prizes, right?
Yes. Those also had raffle tickets. They had some food in it. They had some water in it. They had some ammo. They had shell casings, which is the in-game currency. They had a little bit of everything. And that was by design that, if someone found one of these, they could live off it for a little bit before they'd either have to go get another one or try to trade their way to a certain status that they wanted to be, which is what most Doomsday stashes really are.
Something I appreciated about this game was that I think ammo in general was more scarce for a lot of people. I feel like at Revenant, people ended up getting pretty flush with ammo. And I think at this game, because we really tightly controlled the flow of ammunition, and I drove a pretty hard bargain on ammo, I think there was a lot more people who were like out of ammo or constantly running out of ammo. And that's what Omega wants. That's what Alex and Frank's vision is that you should be afraid to engage people because you don't want to waste ammo if you don't need to.
Well, one of the other things that Omega Productions allows too is melee combat to an extent.
Yeah, well, the melee combat is being reworked, and they actually did just publish a new rule set for it. I believe that is actually live on the website now, which when I upload this as the VOD, I will put links to that in the description. But it is on Omega's website, omega-epi.com. Artemis Fox, this is Kat, says, I shot like 5 rounds the entire weekend. Yeah, and you had a bow, you psycho.
That was a pretty sweet looking bow, though.
Yeah, awesome.
Who wants to kill people with a bow at this game? You do, Artemis. Rock on. I love it.
No, that was cool. Like, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, no, it was pretty fucking awesome. Let's see. A bow with no hop up. Yeah, also a good point there, Loki Tround. No lootable raffle prizes. Yeah, they didn't actually put the raffle prizes out as lootable items, but they did put out the tickets. I think the long-term plan is they do want to put at least one or two of the raffle prizes out on the field as lootable items, but I think they do have to. I think the tickets are also a good lootable item to have. The Jewel Wars. Oh, the Jewel Wars.
I was there for the Jewel Wars. Let me tell you about the Jewel Wars. So, when I transitioned from mechanic to lawman, someone traded a jewel pod for one of Garrett's
Forgot about that.
little cases, one of his stashes. And so Lutz and I were like, all right, let's go talk to these people and try and settle this issue like police officers would. And we go over there and it's like super aggressive. Like the two groups are communicating and super aggressive. All of a sudden, I see the kid who is causing trouble like run around the community. So I just like pull out my revolver and I just shoot him. Like as everyone else is engaging him. Like they're engaging that other group, like that
It's the
guy.
Clint Eastwood kind of long
And
man.
he's just like behind cover in one way, but I'm this mechanic guy in cover also. So I just pull out my pistol and shoot him because he's not in cover where I was.
But yeah,
And-
Ricky, this stream will still be up tomorrow. This stream, we will be putting the VOD up. And Artemis, it's because like a bow, that's a weapon that kills people slowly and painfully. That's when you know that those 5 shots you shot, those people did not die quickly.
This is
That's
actually
it's
something.
airsoft. It's all the same, but still, like it's when someone hits you with a bow, you know they really didn't like you.
What about those foam tipped bows?
Yeah,
I'm sure you've thought of that, Cat. Like you've seen like the bows that have like the big like the LARP.
the
tips
thing
on
is,
them.
I don't think Omega allows those, but the airsoft
need
bows
to.
they do allow.
Yeah, because they don't. I actually just checked the rules. They don't allow the throwing of any of the boffer foam type or any of the melee stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so
so-
I don't think that would be allowed.
Something I actually thought that was really cool about Omega is the fact that all the guns that you've had when you were like first starting out in airsoft that like maybe aren't the greatest and just barely work, but they still work. People brought those everywhere.
Yeah.
Like stuff that like Steve's crappy Springer revolver, that was totally viable weapon for someone to bring. You don't have to have something souped up. You don't have to have HPA. You don't have to have LMG crazy rate of fire. You don't have to have any of that stuff. If you brought like honestly like an M4 is almost too much for this game. Like somebody brought a lever gun. A lot of those Elite Force haters.
There was 8, I think.
I think the Elite Force
There was a
Hater is the unofficial weapon of Omega.
I used one, and I love that thing, especially the Gen 2. Like having that hop up, like it still sucks. Like I won't say it sucks. That's too much. Like it's not a high kappa.
It doesn't have the range and
Yeah.
rate of fire of like a lot of
Yeah.
high-end pistols, but
it's a lot of fun. Like I would just like sneak my hand down and put it in single action. Like whenever someone came up to me that was weird because I had it in like a satchel, like a tool satchel, and then I just whip that shit out and start shooting people.
yeah.
It's so much fun.
So, Kat, your fiance wants to bring his Crytek. I mean, it'll work. Like a Crytek is obviously like that'll shoot well, and it'll be it'll work well. But the main thing is like it's less than that is a very viable weapon. Like I had 2 pistols for the weekend, and I like didn't shoot a player in anger because I was the cripple. I did shoot Alex though, right in the glasses. That was great. I just yelled, "Congrats on your wedding!"
Because I was Burt Gummer, and if people that are watching the live stream don't know who Burt Gummer is, go watch Tremors, the movie. Yes, the sci-fi horror movie. Burt Gummer runs around with an HK-91 for a good portion of that movie. So I figured I got an LCT G3 and like 2 mags. That was totally it. You don't need a ton of
I think if you
stuff.
have like a gas blowback gun or a revolver or a spring shotgun or something that doesn't see a lot of use, this is the game to bring that out.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do for the next game. I'm going to bring one of my GBBRs that doesn't. I'm going to bring my Colt Commando.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. So other things that I think Desolation. So what do we think were some challenges for Desolation 2 that could be done better, or that could be improved upon in future games? I know personally, I was actually the hooded figure who tried to assist with the insertion, the first insertion of players, and I think I did a terrible job. I don't think that worked out well. I think I should have left the I should have left the fake Russians to their own devices, and they did a much better job at it than I did. But I think organically breaking up players is a really cool element, and a lot of people really like it. But figuring out the best way to do that consistently is, I think, the number one challenge right now.
Well, and I know there was mention of like the when to insert people.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think they're going to cut down on the number of insertions. I think they're just going to do Friday, one insertion. If you show up after that, you have to insert Saturday morning, and there's one Saturday insertion.
Yeah.
And I think that makes the most sense because we basically had to pull like soft resets and get people out of the town who were like shooting and doing stuff so we could get these people who had no ammo to start inserted in and not have them feel like they were having their immersion ruined because everyone else had ammo and was shooting and they couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to make the most sense moving forward.
I think, at least personally, I wasn't really prepared for like a first encounter type thing to kind of set the stage for what type of NPC you are, or what kinds of things you know, just to plant a little bit of the seed as to, okay, this may be a quest line later on. I think I did like an okay-ish job with that, but I think I was kind of like blindsided with that. And it's nothing against Alex or Frank at all. It was just something I just wasn't 100% prepared for, and I thought I did an okay job with it. It sounds like from the players, like everyone really had a good time with it. So I'm definitely going to do a lot more pre-planning as to how I want people to interact with me at first, and then just kind of let it evolve after that.
Yeah. What about you, Matt? What was on your end? Because you were handling more of the antagonistic stuff. What did you think?
I don't know. I really feel like I put on the spot. You guys covered most of the stuff that I think people were having trouble with from like the admin and the introduction to the game. Most of the gameplay mechanics are still pretty good. And again, the participants were great. We didn't have to police them much at all, if anything. Like there was never a time where I had to be like, okay, time out. Let's talk about why we can't do this. So
Yeah.
no, they other than that, I wouldn't fix much. I think Desolation 2 was a culmination of the two previous events in the beta event, and everything. We have a working formula now. Now it's just gonna be a lot of refinement.
Yeah, I think that that's a good way of putting it. Is from here on out, it's going to be refinement, and I think that we've got a really solid group of people that we're moving forward with. I mean, if it hadn't been obvious, you know, in this stream, all of us were acting in NPC roles. I'm like part of the regular Omega staff, as is Matt. And now, as NPCs, who here is still interested in continuing to do that?
Without hesitation.
Yeah.
Absolutely without hesitation. It was an absolute blast to take on a character, if only for 48 hours.
Yeah, one of the things that we're actually hoping is going to continue to be a thing is that players will build characters and bring those in, and then the interaction of those characters and things that those characters do and want might actually make a high number of NPCs less relevant, because then a lot of it's going to be more player driven. And we actually have a video about creating a character coming soon and sticking to that character. And I think that people, generally speaking, for a lot of people, this was a learning experience with getting into and staying in character. But there were some people who did a really good job of it. Like shout out, I know she's been in the comments. Artemis Cat did a really good job of staying in her character. The Wasteland Armory guys, the Junk Trader, he did a really good job. The Canadians basically just roleplayed Letterkenny all weekend. So that was
Canada.
Yeah, that was basically just them, self-inserting, but that's fine. Let's see. Then we got some people asking.
If it wasn't obvious, we all had a really good time. And the next Omega production game, everyone should try to get a ticket and come out.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna shill super hard.
It's so much fun.
But the reason we shill so hard is because, and the reason we're all involved is because we believe in this format. Yeah. We believe in this event series, and Frank and Alex are just great people. I'm just, oh shit, let's made it. Oh god damn it.
Hey buddies.
Yeah, but yeah, the reason,
baby, sorry.
Oh God, we're gonna have more babies to harass. But the reason that we're involved in this is because of how, number one, how great Frank and Alex are. I mean, I've been friends with Frank for a long time, and Alex not as long as Frank, but also I've known Alex for quite some time. And just the format of the event, the style of event, and the commitment to bringing that type of experience to the players is something that I think we can all agree is just fucking awesome.
I think even at Desolation 2, I was already talking about what I wanted to do for my next character.
Me
for
too.
The next event.
You were talking about that the first night. It wasn't even like night 2. You were like, I already know what I want to do.
I've got stuff on the way. It's gonna be glorious.
Yeah. Yeah, so if anyone's curious about what the next Omega event is, that is actually going to be Perdition. And can we just derail this and talk about how hype Perdition is going to be?
Oh, very hype. Like all the hype.
The area that it's in, if anybody who's watching this stream has been to either of the two Milsim West Saratov events, whether it be Spearhead Saratov or Counter Assault Saratov, it's the same AO, which is an absolute great place for something like this.
Yeah, I remember the first time I actually went to Panthera. It's what it's called, Panthera Training Center.
Yeah.
The first time I went there for the first Saratov, my only thought was, this place would be fucking awesome for Omega. Corey remembers me talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that place is great. It's just picturesque, huge mountaintops, amazing forests, just crazy ravines and terrain, and a farmhouse and cattle just running about in this one area that's off limits for playing.
Apparently it's Saratov, not Saratov. We're all just uncultured Americans. Saratov or whatever. Yeah. Well, Panthera is the location, so we'll just call it Panthera.
I wish it was called Panthera, because
of course you do.
Eric calls it Panthera all the time.
But yeah, so Panthera is a sick place, and it's huge. So there's 125 total ticket slots for the Panthera game, Perdition, and I think they're selling pretty well. So if you're looking at getting into that game, just do it. It's gonna be dope. I'm super excited.
And this is not the kind of event where if they run out of tickets, they'll open up more slots. Once they're gone, they're gone.
Well, because they intentionally want these games to feel sparsely populated, which is something I really enjoy about them, that you're not mobbed with people, and that a legitimate way to play is to avoid combat and avoid contact.
Oh, it's actually quite impressive when you start looking out in the woods and you don't necessarily see anybody. You start kind of walking off into a community, and then all of a sudden 10 or 12 people just come out from behind the trees. You're all of a sudden overwhelmed, but at the same time, nobody's necessarily shooting at each other. At a traditional Milsim game, as soon as you see somebody else, it's immediately fire. Even the slightest twig breaking or something like that, people automatically start firing. With this, there's a lot of kind of standoffish type of encounters, a lot of stuff where it feels like there's a powder keg that's about ready to blow, and it's an incredible feeling, really.
And honestly, deception is a great way to play this game. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you, Matt?
No.
Yeah, no, he's a good guy.
We don't know which Matt we're talking about.
Yeah, Eric.
Oh, it's the skinny one.
Oh, okay, that's
Oh.
true.
Must be talking to you, Let's.
Wait, there's 3 mats here. One of them.
Yeah. I mean, deception is a great thing. So the whole thing with Desolation that Frank and Alex talk about is like making your own fun, and well, some of us, like me, enjoy being deceptive. It's just exciting. Sometimes it's not nice, and I'm gonna take you for everything you're worth, and sometimes I'm just gonna made you look, and then boop you on the nose. It really depends, but that's I don't know. For Desolation 2, I started out being a really nice guy. Maybe I was an overly friendly Mormon, but by the end of it, if you weren't joining the cult, well, there wasn't a place for you at skirmish paintball.
Didn't you also betray a bunch of people who did join the cult?
Yeah.
No, he told me to do it.
Plausible deniability.
I had to be removed, one away. So Lutz did kill a bunch of people. There was also, we made a deal with New Crescent. They were really excited in the last day to, get some trigger time in. And so I saw Lutz, I was like, hey, when they walk away, we're just going to shoot them. And they're going to be really confused. And then, well, they could go back to their community and try again. So we just kind of kept doing that. We had to keep it fun, had to keep it going.
So with that, one gentleman did get a little overly confused. He came up to me, and I had to keep reminding him to be stay in character, man. He's like, do you guys know you're shooting your own guys? We're helping you. I'm like, yep, that's happening. He's like, right, but we're on your team. I'm like, yep. So think about it.
That's something that I think a lot of people initially forgot, and then started kind of getting more of the nuance as the game went on. There are no teams at Omega. There is no winning other than your own definition of winning. You can do whatever you want, short of physically assaulting another player or sexually harassing another player. Short of real world crimes, you can do whatever you want in the context of the game.
And it happened. I watched people betray other people. I sniped people from long range, and all of a sudden the one guy goes, hit. It just kind of looked around, and everyone was just kind of on edge for a couple of minutes. I paid someone a bounty to kill somebody else, who then betrayed me by giving away.
Totally viable.
Which is totally viable. But he then betrayed me by I gave him some medicine that they could use to trade with Lutz, the paramedic, to build bandages. That way you could actually come back in play without having to go back to a community. So I gave them to him, and then he turned around and gave it to the guy that he just killed. I was like, what are you doing, man? Now he's mad at me.
Making people mad at you is fun, Garrett.
I had him killed, but now he's extra mad at me.
I think one of my favorite elements that kind of accidentally happened to this game, but I think that we're going to continue to explore further, is some of the NPCs had really unique abilities, and they just kind of evolved organically, or unique ways to play with them. And I think that became something that we're going to continue to explore further. Lutz could actually heal people with tourniquets as opposed to medic bandages, but those tourniquets were real tourniquets.
Yeah, I went a little yeehaw on that one. I didn't get approval originally, but it seemed to work out. So
Oh man, I still have one of them.
give it back.
I will.
I'm down to only 5.
Come to
Also, for anyone who's concerned, Matt actually has a lot of real medical training and did not apply those tourniquets in a manner that was hazardous.
I wish he would.
The tightest one I put on was on Eric, and he got real cryy about it, so I took it off.
Yeah, because you tightened it to the point where I actually started not being able to feel my arm.
So here's a quick fun fact about tourniquets. No, I put it on your leg. And you're like, I can't bend my leg. I'm like, yeah, your muscles constrict. That's how they work.
I couldn't remember which limb. The comet dust affected my memory.
Addled your mind.
But that was something unique. And then another unique interaction that players could have with me as I went further down my drug rabbit hole. When I was high, I started, not real high, in character high, snorting lemonade high. I would start throwing out random shit to people when they were trading with me. So if someone came up and bought ammo and they were like, oh, I'll take a mixed bag of ammo, there was a chance that like I would get confused and give them a gold bag, which was like 0.4s. so they might get a way more expensive bag of ammo just because I'm high. I can't tell the difference between gold and brown. Or they would be like, oh, I'll take one of these things. I would just like throw a bunch of pieces of candy at them and have no idea what was going on.
Or fall asleep and have people rob you.
Yeah, that was another thing. Like someone had some injectable medicine that they got from Peter, and they could either sell it to me and I would, use it and as an injectable drug and fall asleep, or they could just sneak up and stick me with it and I would fall asleep, and then they could steal shit from me. And one player ended up using that, like coming up behind me while I was talking to another customer, injected me with it, and I fell asleep. And they were able to steal Lutz's medical bag and sell it to Peter.
Yeah. Also, props to the immersion level on that. That dude had a lot of clarifying questions for Peter. He's like, "Wait, I have to like actually stab him?" He's like, "No, it's not
It
a
didn't
real
have a
needle."
needle on it. Yeah.
Should have been.
Too much immersion.
All the immersion.
There's never too much immersion.
And Comfy Sauce is saying that's Icorn, one of the Canadians. He's saying that we all argued about what the blue BBs were. Well, yeah, because no one knows exactly what the ammunition is, which I think is a unique element that should continue. That's just amazing.
Bro, I was an NPC. I still don't know what the blue BBs were.
I didn't know they were different colors. Really didn't know.
But yeah, no, I do remember that the tier was brown were the worst BBs because those were like mixed weight. You had no idea what each BB was. Then there was like blue BBs, like the BBs themselves were light blue, and I think those were point twos. And then you had red and blue Omega symbol labeled BBs, which I still don't know exactly which those were, what they were. And then you had black and gold. And I'm pretty sure black was 3.6 and gold was 4, but these change every game. So just because I'm giving these away right now doesn't mean it's going to be the same next game. So have fun with that, boys and girls.
Which, if you can imagine 0.4s coming out of like the crappy springers that people bring to this, it's pretty hilarious.
One hater. Just, so Epic Brewmas asks how many bandages per peroxide now for me. So I'm going to take blame on that one. I may have showed up a little late to the NPC brief and screwed up the numbers.
Well, the original plan was 1 bandage and 1 peroxide for a medic tape.
No,
but
it was going to be 2 in 1.
No. It was going to be 1 in 1 initially, but we cut way too many of the bands, so we ended up being like, well, let's just make it 2 to 1.
Okay, I adjusted the economy. People are like, how much you giving for this? I was like, nothing. That's garbage. Get it away from me.
All right. Anything else that anyone really wants to say?
The game was fun. You should go to the next one.
I don't actually know how to fix things. I'm terrible at fixing things.
Corey, we just need a Bradley engine, and then you'll know what to do.
No, like I can only take the bolts off. I will scoop the oil underneath the engine. That's all I'm good for.
Are there any questions in the chat?
Yeah, I'm looking at the chat, see if there are any questions. Yeah, my face when I played the whole weekend not knowing there was gold bag ammo.
I didn't even know there was gold bag ammo.
Mechanic was so hard to read. He took our box and never came back with it.
Which box?
I don't know. Is Robert M. Hof in here? I have no idea.
I don't even know what you're talking about. I dropped a wrench on my head.
What the hell did you steal, man?
I don't know.
You stealing from some poor settlers that came all the way from Oklahoma?
Well, the Russians shouldn't have stolen my tools.
That's true.
I mean, to be fair, Bert Gummer came from Nevada.
Here's a really good question. Username mandatory. Could we have picked or cut the locks off in-game manually? So there actually is going to be mechanics at future games where locks can be picked. Like there will actually be tools that you can use to open locks. That is something that's been discussed, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be implemented at Perdition. But the idea is that, yeah, locked boxes, if you as a player have the real skill necessary to open those locks, and you have or find the tools, then you can open those. So that is actually something that I think is allowed. You can actually do that, or at least the plan is to have you be able to actually do that. So that is something that, if you're a Fallout nerd, level up your lockpicking.
And before everyone brings a pair of bolt cutters with them.
I was just about to say, this reminds me of the bank robber game where I had to bring my bolt cutters to get into the bank.
You want to get your bolt cutter that weekend, have fun.
No.
Right on Rostov, someone mentioned there's one cuttable bolt, and suddenly 13 people showed up with full-size bolt cutters.
Okay,
one.
Two good questions here. Eric, will you be interested in Comet Dust to Perdition? I will not. I will be playing a different character.
Ooh.
This doesn't mean you won't snort
I
Comet.
I mean, I might still, but I will elaborate later.
You never leave your past behind.
And then another question was, talk about the Night Raid. That's not a question, but that's a subject. Yeah, I think that Night Raid turned out pretty well, all things considered.
Yes, it did.
I think it was nice to have something that the players all could kind of were like, oh, hey, there's going to be this thing. And it's kind of, I don't want to call it a forced interaction, but it's kind of, it's intended to be there. That way the players all experience it kind of the same way.
What I think it's even more valuable for is a resource drain.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's that too.
Yeah, because by Saturday night, some people are getting pretty comfortable. Some people are getting pretty cozy. They got a lot of ammo. They got a lot of resources. Yeah, well, guess what? Now, if you want there to still be trade on Sunday, you got to go save your trader. And what does that take?
Yep. I actually saw a lot of people after when we had all died and we were all gathering up. I heard a lot of people, they're like, does anybody have any extra ammo?
Dude, I was amazed that we didn't get searched after we died at that night raid. Nobody was looting any of the dead bodies that were around.
They were scared. It was dark. One of the best things about it is only a few people had flashlights that were zip tied or taped to their gun. We all just had these dinky headlights or these old mag lights. So people can't see more than 10 feet in front of them. So they're just afraid someone's going to jump out from around a corner and shoot them.
Honestly, this might sound like a hot take or an unpopular opinion, especially for someone who owns what I'm about to kind of diss. I think those night games at Omega are better because no one has night vision.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do agree.
With night vision, it's fun if everyone has it, if you are the people who have it, and it just sucks if you don't have it. And Omega puts everyone on an equally shitty playing field.
I think nighttime games are great when either everybody has it or nobody has it. Because otherwise it's lopsided one way or the other. And you always hate being on the side that doesn't have enough nods.
Joe Summers had an interesting comment here. He says the downside to that raid was that North had just been raided, so we were dangerously low going into the raid, but we still rescued Eric and got the Codex. So yeah, that's the interesting thing too, is that there's technically ways that these raids can play out, because I don't think there was any real reason, for example, that North couldn't kill a couple people and take whatever ammo they had on them. So the night raids, you can kind of flip them on their head a little bit if you're creative, and I'm pretty sure that all is fair game. But then you still got that codex, so that actually got you some more access to some more resources. So those are things that then you can use to help your position the next day. I would like it to be where the night raid really has major game-changing effects on top of the outcome of characters and trade. Because I remember at Revenant, the example was the Central Trading Corporation closed as a result of the night raid, where the trader character died, and then the traders were hostile. But at this one, I was rescued, but I became a drug addict, whole different thing. I think in the future, having other different, outcomes for different factions and different outcomes for different camps that participate, I think that's going to be something we continue to step up, and I think that's going to make it more interesting.
I think something funny that happened during Desolation 2 was the fact that the community that got the codex figured out how to open the codex, opened it, got the key out of it, put something else back into it, and then re-hit it out onto the field for another community to pick up, who then could not figure out what was in the codex.
It's solid teamwork.
That's what I love about Omega is just like the chaos factor. Like, I was just thinking, if I was on the night raid on the receiving end of the hail of revolver gunfire that we were giving them, I would have been like on the outskirts just shooting my own people and taking their resources and then like leaving.
Yeah, that's
Did anyone
totally
do that? Like, I want to know if someone did that, because that would be hilarious.
Yeah, and especially if you were doing it at night and
Yeah,
people
no
couldn't
one-
really tell what was going on, or if
Yeah.
you were wearing a mask, because that's another thing that's totally viable. You could bring a second outfit and a mask and disguise yourself.
Yeah, there was a counter call at one point, and those guys changed uniforms completely. Or not uniforms, but they changed their garb.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nova is asking, how viable would it be to go to an Omega event without a gun? Well, depending on how you want to role play it, you could probably do that.
I'll tell you what. I got killed bad dead by a dude with a like scimitar, and I had a gun, so it's viable.
The main thing is, if you want to do that, make sure you bring like an approved full-on like LARP boffer or whatever weapon. That is all in the melee rule set that's on Omega's website now, or it's on their. It's going to be on their Facebook page too. So we'll have links to that in the description once I upload the VOD of this. Any other good questions? We're approaching an hour here, so I'm thinking we should probably wrap up. Yeah, if no one else has any questions in the chat, any final comments that anyone really wants to get out here?
I mean, most of the all the Omega games are great because of the people, and the more great people we have, the better the game's going to be. So if we haven't sold it hard enough, Perdition, Panthera, be there.
Yeah, be at Panthera, be at Perdition, be ready to role play, bring a character, have an idea of what you want to do, and just come have a good time. I give you my personal guarantee and the guarantee of everyone in this call that we will do everything in our power to make sure that that game is as fun a time as possible for you. And I 100% trust the capability of everyone in this call. So I hope that that means something.
Oh yeah, like flat out. I mean, Matt even said it about me. I was immediately talking about the next one while because Desolation 2 was my first event. While the first one was going on, I was immediately preparing for the next one.
As was I.
Awesome. Well, so we have a couple comments here. A couple guys who Joe Summers says, thank you guys for making it so much fun. I think me and the other biker dude got to interact with all of you. It was a blast. I mean, glad to hear it, man. Our main goal was to make sure any interactions we had with players were a good time, and I'm glad to hear that it sounds like we succeeded. We had, thank you for your time and commitment to the roles. You guys made it epic. That's from Epic Brumus. Thank you, man. That means a lot. Artemis says, watch out for the Phoenix as Artemis's mentor is coming back. Look forward to seeing her. Or seeing her or him. I'm not sure who plays your mentor. I don't think I've seen that character. How about a guide for international people to come over? As in, this is what you need to get through the airport. This is what you should do, especially how orange tips but not run guns. That is a video all in itself. I don't know enough about it right now to give an answer immediately. And any tips on starting my own smaller scale post-apocalyptic game? If you want to start your own post-apocalyptic game, number one thing I would say is have something that sets it apart. Something unique, some kind of gimmick. I hate to say, like Omega's big draw is that it's a full weekend, full immersion type thing where it's really, you can do anything. It's more sparsely populated. The Revelations Fertile Crescent series at Balahack, their big draw is like, I mean, shit, they just do a really good job, and they're big games. They're very economically based from what I understand. And then if you want to do something on your own, just find some kind of setting, some kind of conceit that would make it unique. And any chance of bringing it to the West Coast? I think they are planning on doing a West Coast game in 2020, but I think Perdition might be their last game they're playing for 2019, just because they're still trying to really get the refinement down and get the business to be in a good place before they can expand it too much more. They are planning on doing, I believe they're planning on doing Oklahoma again next year, though. So that's kind of close to the West.
Oh, okay.
And then I think that just about covers it. So anyway, yeah, thank you everyone. Does Eric like cattle decapitation? I fucking love cattle decapitation.
If he stopped talking about cattle decapitation, we will still hear about cattle.
Yeah, I'm wearing my Shrine of Malice shirt right now. If you haven't heard of Shrine of Malice, go look them up. They're pretty good. Anyway, I think that'll do it for this one. Everyone say goodbye. Everyone go around and say goodbye and make a closing comment.
Bye. I'm Corey. Please go to all the events and enjoy me acting like a psychopath in real life and not just the internet.
I'm gonna really try hard to come to Perdition, but we have to convince my wife to leave this behind.
Just bring the baby.
Oh, the baby, yeah.
I offered. She said no.
I'm Garrett. Absolutely, you should come to Perdition. It is a really fun time to go to one of these events. It's a totally different experience you don't get anywhere else. I don't really know how else to describe it.
I'm Other Matt. I actually paid to go to most of these events. This is like the first one I got to go to as a staff member. So Frank recruits from his own. So the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. The more fun you have, the more likely you'll continue doing it. So just come to the Omega Games, see what happens, and maybe I'll see you on the other side.
I'm Steve, and hopefully we'll see everybody at Perdition.
All right. Peace out, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope we were helpful. Leave any questions in the comments, and check out Omega's website and rule set, and go to Perdition. Peace.
See ya.
Yeah.